Hi, this is Mark Graban from Lean Blog. In this video podcast extra, Paul Akers from FastCap talks about the pros and cons, well, mainly the cons, of using rewards and incentives in driving continuous improvement. Well, Paul, thanks for sticking with us after the podcast to do a bonus question. And I actually had gotten asked by somebody on Twitter today, somebody from Vancouver, British Columbia, who's actually visited FastCap. And their question was about inspiring Kaizen and improvement amongst your employees. Can you talk about your experiences at FastCap? A lot of people often ask about providing bonuses or financial incentives or prizes to do this. What are your experiences?
Well, I think it's a great question. I know that just the other day, one of our employees was, I think, at the doctor, and it said, "What is your occupation?" And the employee, and she's actually in the shipping area, and she wrote down process engineer. Mm-hmm. And her daughter said to her, when she was filling it out, said, "You're a process engineer?" I said, "Absolutely. That is my title at FastCap." And the reason I tell that story is because that is the job of all of our people. It is not to package, it is not to manufacture, it's not to run injection molding, CNC, answer the phone, ship orders, it has nothing to do with it. Their job is to improve the process. They're process engineers and they all know it. And the reason I tell that story in light of your question, Mark, is because in the beginning, when I was maybe a little more naive and didn't really understand what motivated people, I used to pay people $5, $10 for every improvement they made. And the problem is, were they making the improvement because it was the right thing to do, or were they making the improvement so they could get the $5 or $10? And I felt that it really distorted the whole reasoning behind continuous improvement, and that is to improve the quality of all of our lives and eliminate waste and make the planet a better place, if you will. But if we're motivated strictly from a monetary standpoint, it really distorted it. So I quit doing that, and I pay my people well. They're incentivized by being rewarded regularly with raises as they raise the bar and raise the standard. So I tell them, look, your job is to improve. And that's all I care about. And if you're improving everything, you're going to do a great job on everything else. Yeah. And so we took away that incentive, and we take care of them financially in all the other areas with great benefits and retirement and all those other things. But man, just come in there and think 24/7, how am I going to improve things? And it took all the hassle and stress away from me. I think it took all the hassle and stress away from them. I think we have a much happier culture as a result. Mm-hmm. And we're not having to deal with all that, was that their idea? Was that this idea? I mean, it was a nightmare managing it. And I think that's an important point too about lean, Mark, is sometimes managing lean is a nightmare. And the way we've done it at FastCap, we've made it so easy that it's a joy to be in the culture because it doesn't require a lot of management to get the job done and make those improvements. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that really does. And that jives with both, if you will, textbook Kaizen. If you read some of the classic, the literature that's been out there the last 20 years about Kaizen. But I've seen that in my own experience that you don't want the bureaucratic slog. It's not the old, when I first worked in manufacturing, the employee suggestion process. It was all about this bureaucracy and arguing about, what the value of an idea was. And there was just all of that waste around the process, as opposed to what I've seen in a lot of hospitals even, where that intrinsic motivation is so strong about doing the right thing for the patients, freeing up time for patient care, all these things align. That I've seen a lot of great Kaizen work where, again, same thing, no incentives, no direct prizes or bonuses. If you have the culture where leaders are asking for improvements and participating and recognizing and celebrating them, you don't need the money.
You don't need all that stuff. And then but everyone's got to make a living. Everyone's got to be paid well. I think one of my guests one time that I interviewed on the American Innovators said a great thing, or I read it in a book. Money should be, you should pay people well enough that they're not preoccupied with how much money they make, right? Yeah. So they can be preoccupied with doing a great job and not with, I don't make enough money. So, that's a balance for the owner of a company. We have to do that, but that's a prudent balance to make sure that you're on top of those things.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, it's great to hear, and thanks for sharing your perspectives and experiences there, and for sharing everything that you share from all the great work at FastCap.
Lots of mistakes, that's for sure. I'm finally starting to figure it out, but I've made quite a few mistakes over the years, but it's all good.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Paul.
You're welcome, Mark.